Welcome back to Worst Seats in the House. Michael Russo, Anthony LaPanta coming to you live from Tuttle's on this beautiful Monday night. Hot day. Anthony just came from the golf course. That had to be fun today and an unseasonably warm day.
Unbelievable. These days are all bonuses when you're playing at this time of the year. So I'm in and came directly here from Loggers Trail in Stillwater. I can tell you it takes 51 minutes to get here.
That's funny. All right. So, first of all, happy coffee day to everybody that celebrates.
I thought it was Sons Day. I saw somebody post something on social media with their sons.
No.
That was yesterday? All right. Well, AJ and Vinny, if you guys are listening, happy Sons Day yesterday.
Yes. This is like number 9 for me today, which explains my heart palpitations right now. October 6th is our next live show. That is over in Elsie's in Northeast Minneapolis. And I say Northeast because a bunch of people here are drinking Grain Belt's finest, Northeast. That is October 6th. That's 3 days before opening night. So we'll have a lot to talk about. We'll have the final roster, essentially. So that'll be fun to talk about. Maybe we'll know some more Kaprizov news because nothing seems to be coming out on that end.
Not yet time to panic.
Not yet time to panic.
But you're now on the first trip. So you're actually going to be working on opening night.
That's changed. Then October 27th is our next live show. That'll be back here at Tuttle's. If you listened to last week's podcast, we have a schedule change. Apparently, the Vikings are playing on October 23rd. So our next live show, October 6th at Elsie's, October 27th, we'll be back here at Tuttle's. Both shows 7 p.m. Very excited about that. And Anthony, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty in terms of the roster. Things are starting to become clearer, even though there are still certainly moving parts. They cut the roster by 11 more bodies today. They're down to 31, but they're really at 27 because Matt Zuccarello, we're going to find out in the next couple of days, is going to probably be out a couple months with his injury. And then Michael Milne, Cam Butler, Stevie Lescovar are technically still on the roster, but they're obviously minor league guys, and they're going to open up on a season-ending IR if they're not cleared before. So they're down to 27. You can have 23 on a max roster. Not that they'll necessarily carry 23 on the roster, but Hunter Haight's still here. Tyler Pitlick's still here. Danilo Yurov still here. Liam Ohgren on the back end. Jack Johnson's still on his PTO. Obviously, Juracek and Boyum, they're still here as well. So. What do you think here?
Well, when the way you started this was things are getting more clear. I don't think they're any more clear because the guys they let go, we knew they were going to let go all along. The guys that were locks are still locks, other than Zuccarello being injured. They still have a lot left to figure out with these other guys, and not just who makes the team, but where do they fit in the lineup. And none of those guys have locked that in yet. I don't think. Hunter Haight has had what I would say is a camp that exceeded expectations. A lot of those other guys, they haven't yet stepped up and grabbed the jobs for which there were opportunities for them to take. And Yurov falls into that category. Ohgren falls into that category. It's not like they've been terrible, but they've been given opportunities. They had every chance to grab these jobs, and I don't think any of them have made it a no-brainer. And I'd put Boyum and Juracek in that category too, that they haven't come up here and just said, here's the chance for, let's say, Ziev to be the top power play guy, and they gave him a chance to even earn a spot in the top 4 with Brodin out, and I don't think he's shown enough to grab that yet. I don't think Juracek has shown enough to make himself a no-brainer yet. So there's still a couple games left and still some things to figure out. But John Hines made it clear to us before the game the other night that the last 2 games and the next couple of weeks or week and a half, it wanted to have it be more like an opening night feel. But there's still some guys that are in that lineup tomorrow night in the next exhibition game that they have to show some things to grab a spot.
Tuesday, the Wild play against the Winnipeg Jets. Friday's last preseason game in Chicago. And then they obviously have a little time off before opening night in St. Louis, October 9th, and then the home opener on the 11th. To your point, you always are the big earn it guy. And right now, Zeev Boyum is a -6. David Juracek has been up and down. And yet, they sent Carson Lambos down today. They sent Matt Kierstead down today. It just feels to me that those guys it was predetermined that they were going to make the team, and right now they're going to be on the roster, whether or not they're willing to deal with those growing pains that we might see, because neither guy looks in preseason lineups like he's ready to face Robert Thomas and Jimmy Snuggerud and all these guys on opening night.
Well, and Jack Johnson's still here, so that would mean that even if they both make the team, one of them might well not be in the opening night lineup. And right now, neither one of them will be in the top 4. I think if I get the feeling that if Hines had to set his roster right now for opening night, that Zach Bogosian would be in the top 4 before either of those guys. And
well, I mean,
either of Yurchek or Booyah.
Yeah, but I mean, you're 6, right? I mean, you're going to have Faber and Spurgeon in your top 4. So
and Middleton,
right
but Brodeen's hurt.
Right.
So I'm saying Bogosian. I think right now, if the season were to start, my guess is Zach Bogosian's in your top 4. Mm-hmm. That's my guess, because I don't think either one of those guys. Right? Are you going to put Zeke Booyah in your top 4? I don't think there's any way. So I think that's probably, and we may see that tomorrow night or Tuesday night, and because he also had said if that is the way we have to go,
we're going to have to
get a look at it and figure out if that can work. But I am an earn it guy, and that's what like to. Right now, there's a spot in the top 6 with Matt Zuccarello out on opening night, and I know that we've gone round and round with this over the last couple of years, but Liam Ohgren, Danila Yurov, they haven't played their way into that spot. And I'd guess right now, maybe Hunter Haight gets a look there on Tuesday night. And if he doesn't, we may see Marcus Johansson open the season in the top 6, because right now, none of those other guys have stepped up and grabbed it. Ohgren's shown flashes. I still like him as a player. The Wild still like him as a player, but he hasn't grabbed this opportunity and said, you're not taking it back.
Right. He had 3 or 4 chances last night, but obviously didn't bury it. Yurov had a goal called back yesterday. But, I do think that they really like Yurov. I think Yurov might get a look at wing tomorrow. The question really, it might be dependent if Kirill Kaprizov's ready to play. The other day, he looked like a guy that took a puck to the eye. That's how bad his eye infection is. So we'll see how that goes. I think Jonas Brodin is the wild card here, because obviously if he is back practicing, and yesterday he was cleared for contact, if he doesn't have any setbacks, you and I have both seen this guy. He can miss 2 months, get 1 practice, and they throw him back in the lineup. So obviously, if he's medically cleared, that is the key. He could be back by opening night. And even if he's not by opening night, even if it's a week, they're going to have a big decision to make, because Jack Johnson's not playing in the minors. So you're going to have to give him, if you're going to sign him, a one-way contract and have him on the team. And if you're going to have Boyum and Yurchek here, you're going to have to be able to stomach at times having 8 defensemen on the roster. And if not, maybe they just don't sign Johnson and right away just bring back Carson Lambos or Matt Kierstead for opening night. Just because those guys were reassigned today doesn't necessarily mean they won't be recalled to play any games to start the season or even be in the press box.
And I think they've liked what they've seen from Lambos in camp. But if you look at his game the other night against Chicago's close to their opening night lineup, that was an eye-opener, I think, for some of those guys to say, all right, well, let's see how these guys look against the best the Blackhawks have, and it didn't go particularly well for several guys in the Wild lineup. Yeah,
several guys, including Boyum, who's still here, but Lambos was one of those guys. I mean, he looked like he took a significant step before that game, and then obviously he gets blown by on the Frank Nazar first goal, and then the beginning goal of the second period, and then obviously that one backdoor play too was him not intercepting the pass, even though it looked to me more like Yurchek probably got a little too aggressive and tried to front the shot, missed it, and then didn't recover in time. But still, that pass probably can't get through. So that probably really sealed Carson's fate yesterday, rather than even keeping him for a couple more days to give him a little, tease at a minimum that you're getting closer and closer and closer. But I think Brodin, if you had a guess right now, do you think Brodin is in the opening night lineup? It really does depend, I think, on setbacks and if he's still feeling it.
Yeah, right now, I would probably guess no, but they have all through camp thought he was not going to be ready. He did the practice that he had the other day was the first time that there was any contact allowed for him at all, but they haven't gotten to the point where it was contact that was unpredictable contact yet. And so my guess would be maybe not for opening night, but pretty soon thereafter.
It'll be telling if he's back on the ice tomorrow. You know, a lot of times you get that first contact and you're like, oh, I feel it, and then you're not out there. Nico Sturm's another one that a lot of this will depend on, right? I mean, if Nico is, let's just assume that Liam Ohgren is on the team to start opening night. If Nico Sturm is in the lineup, barring any trade, they really only have a spot for one extra forward. I don't think you're keeping two just for you-know-what and giggles. So a lot will depend on Nico. Nico practiced the other day, but they, as John Hines said yesterday after the game, he still needs a good hour, 5-minute practice to make sure that he could withstand it and have that opportunity to be in the opening night lineup. I don't know. He's definitely not playing on Tuesday, and I think their hope is to get him a game on Friday, but that's obviously unknown at this point, Anthony.
Yeah. You
weren't listening.
Well, I was, but
the first
I stopped
time
after a while.
You were all over your phone. You always rip me for being on my phone, and you were not listening to a thing. Who were you texting there?
I was trying to get the Winnipeg lineup for Tuesday night from the Winnipeg radio guy.
I could have told you this.
Well, you don't have their line combos.
What makes you think I don't have that?
I bet you don't.
I bet I do.
Winnipeg's line combos for tomorrow night?
Yeah.
All right.
I just got it.
All right. Well, send it to me.
All right. Connor Hellebuck actually got hurt today in practice, so that'll be the big thing.
Actually, the exact same. My people are telling me that it was mum's the word, but that he left practice.
Yep. Well, it's out there, all out there. Nino, Jonathan Taves, Cole Perfetti. See it? I got it.
Well,
anyway.
We'll see.
All right, so what were we now? I don't even know what the hell we were talking about.
I don't know. You started on one topic and you'd circled around a couple times.
That's because you weren't paying attention. So, happy coffee day, everybody.
Yeah.
So
we had lunch together today. So
I know this has just been a delightful day. I get to see him twice in one day. That was fun.
And after we left lunch, I went straight to the golf course and
I did not. I went
to
work.
Go to work.
Yeah. So you know what? I know where I was going with this. It was back to Hunter Haight. A lot again. It has to do with Nino. I think Haight. If they had right now a decision to make between Haight and Hinostroza as your extra guy, I think Hinostroza actually is now behind Haight.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
I think there's a pretty good chance Haight makes the opening night roster.
Yeah, I think
is
that
in
they're
the opening night lineup.
Yeah,
especially if Nico Sturm is out.
Yeah. Now, here's the next question, though. Then Yurov. Let's just say he is not in the actual lineup on opening night. Are you gonna, what do you think they do there? Do you think they have him as the extra guy? I mean, again, a 21-year-old. Obviously, he's got a European out clause for 3 years, by the way, which is usually unheard of to actually have an out clause in every year of your contract. I don't think, as we've talked about, that you make a long-term decision based on if they tell him, hey, look, you're going down for a week, 2 weeks, whatever. But, look, he continues to get better. I'd like to see him at wing. If faceoffs are that big of an issue, it'd be kind of fun to see him at wing.
Maybe, but he hasn't shown much offensively all camp. He's been responsible in his own zone, which is more important as a center. It's important everywhere, but more important as a center. I just don't think he's shown anything. You haven't seen a spark. There hasn't been that moment. Something like a vision play or a skill play, a creative play. There just hasn't been any of that yet, and maybe that'll come. I would guess we see him in both of these. If it's me, I'd play him in both of these games.
I think it can come if you play with better players. I know he had the one game there, but like last night on the second power play unit, first of all, he's not on the first one. He wasn't on with the extra attacker, but like he had a multiple opportunities to have the ability to score, and Juracek's fumbling pucks out of the zone, not making a play to him. The other night in Dallas, he had a chance for a couple breakaways. They don't make the pass to him. Last night he's playing with Hinostroza and Ben Jones. It'd be nice to see
the first home game, though, he played with Tarasenko and Ohgren, which was about as good a combination as you could have outside of Kaprizov and Boldy.
Although Tarasenko looked like he wanted to be anywhere else.
Well, that's true, but that's as good. That's as much skill as the Wild have to offer.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to see him at wing, and I'd like to see if he can, have that ability. I don't think that he's gotten the best opportunity to show off his offense. I'm not, let's put it this way. I think they're not worried nearly about that as they would have been about his defense and away from the puck. He's been NHL
great.
ready.
He's been good there. But let's just, to play the devil's advocate, he's played with better players than Hunter Haight has all camp and in every game. Mm-hmm. Haight never got a chance to play with Ohgren and Tarasenko, and yet he's shown up. So guys have the opportunity, they have the ability to show something no matter who you're playing with, and he hasn't done that yet. I'm not saying like, hey, give up on the guy, but he hasn't taken this opportunity in camp and grabbed it. So to me, he looks like a guy that,
I think sometimes you look at 21-year-olds as like they're 25 or 6.
No.
He's 21 coming over for the first time. Mikko Koivu had 5 goals his rookie year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that, but that's exactly the point I've been making, is that until they outplay the guy that's 25 or 26, then just let him.
So why is Marcus Johansson, in your opinion, going to be back on the second line? Because of his pedigree of getting 35 points a year?
Yeah, because, it's 35 more than Liam Ohgren has scored.
But at some point, do you think this team's a cup contender this year?
I think they're a playoff contender.
All right. But the point is, it's like at some point you got to give these guys an opportunity.
They've had an opportunity. They haven't.
I'm sorry. Again, Liam Ohgren is 21 years old.
I know.
He's the future of this team. Marcus Johansson signed for $800,000 to get his 1,000th game.
Right.
So at some point you've just got to play your young kid and let's see them already. Like if Marcus Johansson, and I think the fans have a right for this, if Marcus Johansson, who by the way when they re-signed him were pretty much indicating that he came back just to be the 13th forward,
right.
If he's suddenly your second line left wing, based off his play yesterday, did he earn it yesterday?
No, but he's been better than these guys all of his career. I'll tell you, I made this comment last year, and I'll make it again right now. I will bet you, right now, take the bet, that Liam Ohgren will never match what Marcus Johansson has done in his career.
Oh, please clip that.
58 points.
I mean, honestly.
He had a 58-point season. I will bet you that Liam Ohgren never scores 58 in a year. He had 6 40-point seasons. I will bet you that Liam Ohgren does not get to 40 6 times in his career.
Right. With his shot, you don't think that they should give him an opportunity?
I think they're trying to give him an opportunity right now in camp, and he hasn't. He has never proven that he can score in the NHL.
He's
21
years old.
I think he will. I think he'll be a good player. But I'll bet you. Do you want to take that bet?
Yeah, I will 100. Well, not
right.
those
two things.
First of all, I'm not going to be alive by the end of Liam Ohgren's career.
Well,
and second of all, it'll be just another bet that you don't pay up.
No, it's two bets. Yeah. He's got to have 6 40-point seasons and one 58-point season.
First of all, we're probably not going to know even if I'm alive, I'm going to be long out of.
I think I can remember this. I bet some people out here could remember.
What was the bet that I found out that you? Our buddy Mark. You didn't. No. What was the bet?
I just won the bet with Mark.
No, the Lunati bet. We discussed this on the podcast a couple weeks ago. That you've forgotten that you made that bet.
You don't remember it either.
I'm pretty positive that I believe him.
No, it was.
Thank you for coming
false.
to the microphone.
He just made up a bet.
Yes.
All right. Is this a bet?
Yeah, it's a bet.
All right, it's a bet.
All right.
For a good bottle of wine.
And by the way, I'm right that Liam Ohgren should get that opportunity
for a good bottle of wine.
All right.
You can't just declare yourself right.
I'm 100% declaring myself right.
Well, you made the same argument for Adam Beckman last year.
No, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
That's true.
Hi, guys. I think I know the answer to this. Okay, I have 3 questions.
And by the way, that summer, that training camp, Beckman had 5 goals in training camp, and he proved that he's not ready. So it just proves again that the preseason means absolutely jack squat. It doesn't matter if you produce or don't produce, obviously.
What? That doesn't even make any sense.
Yes, it 100% does. Is that was based off Beckman
Who are the other guys?
That he earned it and had 5 goals.
There was Adam Beckman and somebody else that you kept arguing that summer that they were.
I think it was Boldy.
No,
all right,
it wasn't
question.
Boldy.
It was 100% Boldy.
No, it wasn't.
It was Boldy and Beckman that year.
No, it wasn't. I'll find it.
Yeah.
Do you have concerns about your water? Have a trained water specialist from Aquarius Home Services come to your house and do a free water analysis. This can change your home and your health. Enjoy refreshing drinking water right from your own faucet that you could trust. Aquarius is your local independent authorized Connecticut dealer. In fact, every year they come to my house and not only change my filter, my Connecticut K5 drinking water system, they clean out and replace the salt in my zero electricity water softener. Mark was at my home today, in fact, doing my annual maintenance. He was incredibly good, nice, and professional. Water affects every aspect of your life. You drink it, you cook with it, you clean with it, you shower with it. You use it every day over and over and over. So if you do all those things with it, don't you want the best, the absolute cleanest? So schedule your free water analysis today. Visit AquariusHomeservices.com. Aquarius Home Services, earning the right to be recommended. And don't forget to mention that Russo sent you.
Deer hunting season is here, and it's time to own your odds with OnX Hunt, the GPS hunting app trusted by millions of hunters. With the Hunt app, you'll have access to nationwide public and private land ownership information, waypoints, tracks, and much more, all at your fingertips. Go to onxmaps.com/hunt. That's onxmaps.com/hunt to sign up today.
Hey, Mark Rosen here for Stretch Lab. I had my introductory first stretch when I was visiting my relatives in New Jersey. I went to the local Stretch Lab there for my 50-minute session. I felt so good afterwards. And when I came back, I immediately called that Stretch Lab in Eden Prairie. They have locations all over the Twin Cities where my nephew first signed up. I've been hooked ever since. There are locations I mentioned throughout the Twin City area, but I stuck with my Tuesday morning appointment with Jason to get my 50-minute stretch in as part of my schedule. It's like a meditation session. He stretches out my legs, my hips, my back, my neck, my traps, all of it. And I take some deep breaths and I feel like a new man every single time I leave. My nephew's in his late 20s. I'm a little bit older, but it doesn't matter. Stretching is so important in our daily routine. Having an expert do the work is the only way to go. My advice, give Stretch Lab a chance to improve your overall health. Check out a location near you.
Hey, this is Randy Shaver. Along with Kevin Gorg, we host the show Fantasy Huddle on Talk North. Each week, we're going to break down the matchups for the NFL season and try to give you the best chance to win your fantasy football games each and every week. Join us for Fantasy Huddle on Talk North.
It was 100% bold.
No, it wasn't.
It was Boldy and Beckman that year.
No, it wasn't. I'll find it.
Yeah.
Hi.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, with that intro, I just want to say that I appreciate you guys. I always want you to know how appreciated you are. And
Oh, thanks so much.
I enjoy the top secret suburb that Anthony shall not mention where he lives, that he's never mentioned. And
I'll give his address on the show right now and his phone number.
And Russo, your hotel story is laugh out loud. Like anyone hasn't heard it, it's one of the best.
Right now, I'm like boiling to the point that I was that night in Milan.
So my first question tonight is, I think I know Russo's answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. So the intro to the podcast, you've had that upbeat music for a long time. It's super upbeat. Would you ever consider at the end where it says something about, I know something about losing or not winning at the end, the lyrics at the podcast?
Winners?
Yes.
At
Would you
the end
ever
of this
consider
podcast?
changing the ending to like a winning lyric? Would you ever consider that?
Like a winning lyric? The song's called Winners.
Shoot, I forgot the actual quote of it, but I'm guessing no.
I don't know. The song's about Duluth. It's a Trampled by Turtles song. So you'll have to tell me what you're referring to. And yeah, the song at the beginning is Victory by Trampled. I mean, we could consider anything, but it was donated to us by Trample, which was very generous to them. So I probably wouldn't.
So I don't want to
change
offend
it.
anybody. Just curious.
Yeah.
The second question I have is actually about owners and if there's like a governing board. So for example, we always hear about coaches getting fired, and there's always turnover in professional sports, so GMs, etc. Is there any kind of a governing board for owners, or are you basically just there until you decide not to sell the team?
Yeah, you're there until you decide that you no longer want to lose money.
Okay.
until you want to make a bunch of money on your investment. Like right now, if Craig Leopold wanted to sell the Wild, he would probably make 6x on what he paid it at a minimum. But he is always, I'm just bringing up Craig as an example. I mean, he's made it very clear since he bought this team, especially recently, that this is going to be a family affair long after he essentially is not the owner of the team.
He's got a son working for the team now.
Hand it over. It looks like 40 is going to eventually be I probably shouldn't announce this, but probably the next owner of the Wild. That'll probably also be after I'm done, long dead. But no, there's no governing body for owners unless you're the Green Bay Packers, right? And you're owned by the state.
Yeah, publicly owned.
Yeah.
So I have one more question after that. But
like Toronto's a good example. I mean, that's owned by essentially a board, and yeah, that's kind of almost run by a business.
I was curious.
So every team's different. If you're a privately owned team like this,
And then I'll just go to the third question because I had a spin off of that, but I forgot it. So the third question is about defense. And Bogosian, I'm biased because I think he's a great hockey player, and Bogosian gets a little bit of heat for his age and so forth in the media. I really like him. I think he's a great hockey player. And we all have our favorites and we all have our least favorites. So without, I guess, getting into the weeds on that, I'd love for you both to make a strong argument. We talk about the Stanley Cup a lot, a strong argument for Jake Middleton. And I know he's funny. I know people like his personality and all that great stuff. But in a Stanley Cup winning team, because you two have so much experience, like, and again, not knocking anybody, but just that defense, how important that is in playoffs. And I just would love to have your perspective.
Like where Middleton would fit on a cup contender?
Yeah, without being...
Well, I think it's, to me, if this team and when this team makes their run, Zeke Bouillam's going to be in the top 4. And with what you have right now, it looks obvious that it would be Spurgeon, Bouillam, Brodin, and Faber would be your top 4 defensemen, which means Jake Middleton's on your third set. And I think if Jake Middleton's on your third set, you're in a pretty good spot.
So you put him ahead of Bogosian?
If he's in the top 4, I'm not positive, but as a third pair guy, I think you could be a cup contender with Jake Middleton on your third set. I don't know about, Zach Bogosian's on the. I don't know how many years he has left, and I love Zach, and he's a good player. And last year he played more games than he's ever played in a season in his career, and he might have run out of gas a little bit at the end, but he was really good for the Wild for a long time last year.
Yeah, I agree with him. I mean, I think Middleton. I love Middleton as a player, but if you have him on your third set on the Florida Panthers, they're going to win with him. He's mobile, he's big, he can shoot the puck. Great in the room, all that type of stuff. So.
Okay, and I will leave after this. So I've remembered what my other question was about owners. This is more of a trivia style question, so it might be a tough one. But are there owners, not just in NHL, but NHL is what I would be most interested in. Professional owners, have they played the sport that they own teams of? Do you know of, or is that kind of like a pretty high trivia
Mario Lemieux
question?
Owned the Pittsburgh Penguins for a while.
Thank you.
Jones played
Wayne Gretzky.
played college football.
Yeah, Wayne.
I don't think there's very many, but
no. I mean, Gretzky, obviously, when he was Arizona, that was a weird circumstance, like that, stuff like that.
I found the other guy that was with Adam Beckman.
Who?
Sammy Walker. Those are the two guys.
That was not a me thing.
Yeah, you were arguing
thing.
that those two guys
Give me a
that they
break.
needed opportunities.
Oh, man, you just make.
No, I don't. You do.
Please. I don't want to make Davide's job harder, but I'm about to
we're
punch you in the face.
We're going to send them back and find these old clips. But those are the two guys that you had kept bringing up that they needed opportunity. And it hasn't worked out for them.
Yeah. Well, maybe if they got the opportunity, they'd still be here.
That's true.
Bruce.
I guess we'll never know.
Come save the day here.
I've got a question in regards to Matt Boldy.
Yes.
So before I ask this question and everyone goes crazy, like everyone else, I want Kirill signed and hope he gets signed, and we all want the same thing. But because he's not signed, and as long as he's not signed, we don't know. So let's take Kirill out of the equation. Mm-hmm. Do you think, with Matt Boldy as a 24-year-old, won't turn 25 till April, he's signed through 29-30, $7 million AAV. Do you think there's a possibility, with not having to pay Kirill $16 million a year plus, maybe it's even more, to put a couple of pieces around Matt Boldy and build this team around a young Matt Boldy, who I think is getting better and better every year? Is there a possibility? I guess what I'm saying is, I'm not saying does Boldy become Kirill, because they're different players. But what I'm saying is, could a Matt Boldy, with the money you would be paying Kirill to other guys to support that, could he become the centerpiece of this team and get them to where they want to go?
Would you be better off trading Kirill for a couple other pieces and save that money and use it? I think that's almost impossible. I mean, possibly, but they want Kirill and Boldy as the two centerpieces, and if they don't get those two, it's going to be hard to replace. I don't know. I mean, you could make the argument that get two $8 million players and instead of one $16 million player, but I think you need the superstar.
Yeah. I mean, That's the quandary they're in with Kirill is that if he is not here, even some of the players that could potentially be available next year, like say it's Adrian Kempe or Kyle Connor, they're not Kirill. But if you're paying them 11 or 12 with a Matt Boldy and then get another piece, I think that it is an interesting question if you're better off, especially because as Anthony and I have talked about many times already, that in years 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of this Kirill deal, he's not going to be a $16 million player. I was thinking the other day, I was talking to somebody, it might have even been you, about you kind of wonder even what people like Matt Boldy is a $7 million player, and Kirill Kaprizov turned down $9 million more than Matt Boldy, and he's not double. He's not worth double Matt Boldy. Like there's got to be. Like it is crazy how great of a deal the Matt Boldy deal is going to turn into, which is again.
How about the Eriksson Ek deal?
Yeah, the Eriksson Ek deal.
Is he 3 times the player Eriksson Ek is?
And what I'm always impressed with Eriksson Ek is Eriksson Ek. When you ask him about that, it doesn't seem to bother him at all. He's like, I made my bet. I signed that deal. I'm perfectly fine, willing to accept that. I don't think a lot of people would be that mature in such a sport where all these guys are competitive. You all have egos. You have to have an ego to get to the level of play that these guys do. And for him to be that mature and professional about it, I think it's pretty amazing. We haven't talked about Kirill yet. Right now, I don't sense that really there's been any change since 2-3 weeks ago, which is concern because obviously we're getting closer to the season. Obviously that's a pressure point. As I talked about maybe on last week's show, I think once you start the season, if he's not signed, now the pressure gets really enormous, not just from an injury standpoint. What if they get off to a bad start? Then you start to really worry about what's keeping him here if you get off to that type of thing. And so I don't know. I think they're in a real delicate quandary. So we'll see.
It's getting closer to time to panic.
Yes. Paul?
I got a couple things. One is Kirill, but I'll save that for the second part. We were talking this summer. We were having some drinks, and I was fantasizing whether we could see Flower come out of retirement to rescue the Wild, and you guys were saying, "Oh no, he can't be in game shape. He can't be in game shape." Can you
Dude, he is in game shape.
Can you
You're
remind
right.
everybody what he did this weekend?
Yeah. Well, to get to your real point, to get to the point, regardless of shape, I actually. It's going to be completely up to Flower. Like the one thing I can promise you is that when we get past January 1, there's going to be teams that are calling. This might be a team. Who knows, depending on health and how good Wallstedt and Gustafsson is, whether it's Montreal, whoever, he's going to get calls. It's just going to be up to him on whether or not he is lured to do that.
You guys laughed at me when I said it.
The thing is that I think, personally, knowing how big of a family guy is, to me, the only possible way for him to come out would be if it was here. Because I just don't think he's leaving his family. I just don't see it at all. But I can tell you, he had, I've talked to his agent. That he had 5 offers on July 1. He is the one that decided not to sign somewhere. Right now, you could bet this week with the amount of teams that are having injury issues, Toronto, that teams have called him. But right now he is going to be a family man.
Well, he played that period at Pittsburgh this weekend.
Yeah, and he was, obviously made 8 saves and. It was definitely fun.
And it was
drama.
a Flower show.
Yeah, it was a sell tickets for a preseason game in Pittsburgh.
It's really unbelievable the amount of people that came to practice, the amount of I just can't even imagine what it must be like to be him. To know that you're that loved by so many people, and not just in Pittsburgh, everywhere. Name another hockey player that every single place he goes, people love him. It's truly remarkable. It says everything about him as a human being and as a person. I just can't even imagine how humbling that had to be the other day to see it. And then in typical Flower fashion, he pulls off a couple classic pranks. I don't know if you saw the video from the Penguins today when Malkin comes out and looks at his car that looked like a race car with yellow stripes on it and the number 29. And he's like, "Do you know how much this car costs?" And the one thing about Flower is he doesn't by the way, I remember when Derek Bugard and Cal Clutterbuck put all the packing peanuts in Eric Belanger's car, and they also left on the windshield like a gift certificate to get a to get it detailed afterwards, to get it cleaned out. Like, he doesn't do that. I guarantee you that he left it for these guys. When he put Brandon Duham's car on a block last year, 2 years ago, I even asked him, I'm like, did you then, call AAA for him? Did you give him a check to get? He's like, no. I mean, why would I do that? Like, he just, like, it's not only a prank, but man, it is a freaking punishment, So.
All right, now I have one more.
Yeah.
You've been talking, all the Kaprizov talk is all about money, money, money. What if it's not about the money? What if it's not about the money? Kaprizov is about winning.
Yeah.
So what does he want? If it's not the money.
I would just hope that if he just feels like he doesn't want to be here and he doesn't think he can win here, that you would just tell the organization that so they can get started on rectifying the situation. That's what I would hope that he would do as a professional. You could be 100% right. I don't think it's about structure. It could be about squeezing more money from them. But I would just hope that at some point you let them know and go on, and we can all go on with our lives. Because Billy, not that he has no move. It's if he wants to do what Mitch Marner did last year and stay and not waive, that's absolutely within his right. It was negotiated. The Wild decided to give it to him. They knew what they were getting themselves into when he did this. But, you would hope, knowing how important of a player you are to this team, and how much of a valuable asset.
Even if it's nothing more than you have friends on this team and you really want to just stick it to them. I mean, if you don't want to be here, then I don't know how it'll play out, but I got to believe that at some point there's a conversation directly between Billy and Kirill where it's, hey, just let me know. If you really don't want to be here, then let's move on.
Maybe it'll be happening here in a little bit. Maybe it happened today. If it happened today, hopefully Billy was wearing sunglasses to protect himself from a contagious eye infection. All right, question.
All right, I've got two quick ones. One is Wallstead. Is the pressure on him so much that he's going to have a short leash, or do you feel like they're going to ride with him and let him really get a long experience and see where he goes?
I don't think he has a short leash at all. I think they're planning on him being the number 2 goaltender here, and I don't know what the number is. I haven't asked number of games, and I'm sure they would say they don't have a number, but I would bet they're planning on him playing 25 to 30 games this year, and I think he would have to be below their standards for a long time before they would move on to a different option as the backup goalie.
Yeah,
That's my guess.
I agree with you.
Okay. The other question is...
It's time for change. Experience better banking and put your financial goals in motion with Royal Credit Union. It's time to get more from your checking account, upgrade your vehicle, or finally build your dream home. Royal offers the financial solutions you need and the advice you can trust to plan for what's next. Better banking is one change away. It's time to switch to Royal Credit Union. Get started at rcu.org/time. Insured by NCUA. Loan subject to credit approval. Equal housing opportunity.
And I want to tell you about Twill in the Edina Galleria. Scott Dayton's Twill in the Edina Galleria. TwillMN.com is the website. I'm wearing my Johnny O hat. I'm wearing one of my many Peter Millar shirts. Johnny O and Peter Millar are two of my favorite brands out of Twill in the Edina Galleria. When I've been going to Wolves games lately, I've been wearing my Dingman shoes. I've been wearing my Brax pants, my either Peter Millar or Johnny O shirts, pullovers. The Wolves games are weird because they're really cold, and then they turn on the fire jets before the game and singe your eyebrows. You need to be prepared for all kinds of different temperatures in that building. And I just use all my Twill stuff. And as we do more shows here at TalkNorth.com on video, I'll be wearing more Twill stuff because it's really simple. I don't always try to look good. Sometimes I'm very happy being a slob, and I wear old sweats and T-shirts. If I'm trying to look presentable in any way, Talk North meetings, sponsor meetings, big games, going out in public, going out to dinner, I just put on something I bought at Twill. It's just that simple. If I put on something I bought at Twill, I'm going to look good. I'm playing a Randy Shavers golf tournament on Monday. I'm going to wear Twill stuff to that too. Golf, walk around town, dinner, whatever. TwillMN.com. Go to Twill in the Edina Galleria. They're laid back. They love talking sports. They're nice people. Tell them we sent you. You'll have a good time, and you'll end up walking out with something great.
Hey, have you been dreaming of a lake cabin lifestyle with boating, fishing, and family fun in northern Minnesota?
Well, lately I've thought a lot about how cool it would be to have a getaway like so many Minnesotans. And if you're like me, you probably think that owning your own lakeside getaway is beyond your budget. Well, if you think lake cabin real estate prices keep going up, well, think again. This is Russo, and I'm here to tell you there is an affordable way to enjoy a cabin lifestyle and all that goes with it. And yes, I said affordable. I founded a Clamshell Beach Resort, which is located on the Whitefish chain of 14 lakes for you and your family to enjoy. Here's how. Clamshell has lake homes that offer deeded fractional ownership, and the keywords there are deeded and fractional. You own it. Imagine having 5 weeks a year to enjoy Clamshell with its beaches, pool, and lodge that's full of kids' activities. Is golf your game? There's a great golf course right across the road. Like winter sports? Well, you can go ice fishing, cross-country skiing, or snowmobiling right out the door at Clamshell. And there's no maintenance, no grass mowing, no snow removal. It's done all for you. And you can own a share of Clamshell Beach Resort at an affordable price. To learn more about ownership opportunities at Clamshell Beach Resort, go to cottagesonwhitefish.com or contact Pat Egan at 612-220-9819. That's cottagesonwhitefish.com or Pat Egan at 612-220-9819.
The other question is, with Kirill, do you think that it's affected the locker room at all, or do you think the team and the guys are all just like, hey, everything's normal and he's our guy?
I haven't sensed anything, and we talked to a couple players about that before camp started, and they all, and I didn't get the sense that it was just cliche-filled answers. They all were saying things like, you know what, that's the business side of the game. That's between Kirill, his agent, and the organization. We're just here to play, and we all want Kirill signed. Where I think that'll change quickly, immediately, is if it comes out that Kirill just doesn't want to be here and the Wild are forced to trade him. The day he leaves this organization, he might be public enemy number one, because you'll have guys in there saying, wait a minute, the biggest contract in the history of the league wasn't good enough for you to stay here with us, so you went somewhere else. I don't think he'd have a lot of friends here if it came to that. But right now, I don't get the sense that anybody is holding this against him. Yeah. And a big part of that too is that he was here for camp. It isn't like he was a holdout where he was missing the start of training camp and doing anything to hurt the team's chances on the ice. So right now, I don't get the sense that anybody is even bothered by it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I will say I've shot the breeze with a couple guys on this subject, and I get the sense what Anthony just said. And I also think the nature of most professional athletes is that is their business. I mean, it's a business. It is a business. So you know, when Marcus Foligno is working on his contract, he works on his contract. When Kirill Kaprizov works on his contract, and nobody holds that against him, each other. You know, to what kind of a little bit of what Anthony said and what I alluded to a little bit earlier is I think when that could potentially change is if all of a sudden, you know, Kirill decides, all right, I don't want to be here, but I'm also not going to allow them to move on and try to get something valuable, because now the people that have committed here are going to be affected by that if the Wild get no assets in return for them. And let's be honest, I mean, Kirill controls that process, so you know, you're not winning that trade in any capacity. They're not going to be able to trade Kirill Kaprizov for a superstar. That's just not the way it's going to work. And again, Kirill, you know, I mean, this is a totally different subject, but I remember when Marek Zidlicki had his, or Zidlitsky, because he changed his pronunciation of his name a bunch of times. When he wanted out of here and demanded to be traded, he had a full no trade, and he said, I want to go to one team, Jersey. And they were forced to basically get the assets they could get. And if Kirill does that, if he says, I only want to go one team, well, that team then's got the hammer on the Wild. That's why if I were Billy, I would 1,000,000%. I would, if before even asking Kirill for teams, I start having trade conversations, try to gather intel on what I could possibly get for this guy. And then you go to Kirill and say, all right, where are we here? And if not, here's my options, here's your options, and help me out. So we'll see. So let me make sure nothing's going on. My phone's been blowing up for about 5 minutes here.
Mine too.
Yeah. All right, question.
All right. I'm
ready.
I know the talk's been mostly about Kirill for this year,
Yep.
but Spurgeon, correct me if I'm wrong, but his no move becomes a modified trade clause after this season? Is
I
that
think
right?
already, actually.
Already?
Yeah.
So
You
given
could
his,
be right, though. It's off the top of my head.
Okay. Despite that, given his kind of injury history, at one point, do the Wild consider either letting him potentially finish out his career here, or even potentially trading him next year to like a contending team?
I mean, I think the first thing that popped in my head to what Anthony's always said about these kids too is that, like, I don't think you could even consider that until you see that Juracek is actually a player, and Faber can handle workload, and like Faber had a really tough second half last year, so let's see if he can get back. So I think that's a big part of it. But yeah, I think that at some point there might have to be that consideration. The one thing that I'll say about some teams is they can be cutthroat. It doesn't matter. I mean, we saw what Tampa did with Stamkos. We saw what Tampa did with Ryan McDonough. I mean, it's a business. And, as much as probably Jared Spurgeon has earned the opportunity to maybe end his career where it started, if there's a point where you could save a bunch of cap space and somebody's willing to take them and you could move him, you might have to consider that. I think that Jared's earned the respect to at least have the communication with him if it ever gets to that point, that you don't just one day surprise him with a phone call. I think the bill would do it that way, but I think it would be considered at some point if necessary, So, question.
Actually, two things. So I read in The Athletic today that we are now ranked again in the middle, called Mid-Soda by Dom and his model for the year, which I basically agree with. But my question is about the media, because I read the article from your compatriot, Mark Lazarus, about talking to the Vegas Knights about possibly signing one of the Canadian 5 players that will be reinstated. And he didn't put it in the article to begin with, but he said the Athletic writer was kicked out of the locker room and his press pass pulled for the game that night. I was just wondering what your thoughts on that were. And would you ever see the Minnesota Wild doing something like that? Because you had to know that those questions were coming if you want to sign one of the Canadian 5.
Yeah. First of all, I mean, the Athletic writer was obviously him. Hopefully,
he tweeted. He tweeted that out later that it was me that got booted out of.
I mean, I don't want to go into all the nitty gritty, because also I'm executive vice president of the PHWA, so I'm dealing with another facet of this story in the last week. But no, I don't see the Wild ever doing something like that. I think Vegas might have been a little too heavy-handed, and probably, I think they probably would have I think from Vegas' standpoint, they just wish they had known that that's what he was coming to ask, where I think they just thought he was doing sort of the rounds of NHL training camps. But no, I don't think they handled it overly well. To your point, if you are going to sign Carter Hart or Michael McLeod or whomever it is, and I think it's hard. I remember saying that to him a month ago. We joked on the show. I thought he was going to either Utah or Vegas. It was kind of a funny moment where I was giving him bordering states and misspoke and all that stuff. I agree. Like clearly in that story, if you read it, Carolina was trying to get ahead of it. They let him into their locker room with open arms. They let him talk to Rod Brindamore. He talked to a source inside the Carolina organization on the record, where the person's like, look, there's a difference between distasteful and criminal, was the quote. So Carolina was clearly getting ahead of it because they're trying to sign one or both of those players of the 5, where Vegas probably should also be trying to get ahead of it, and knowing that if they sign one of these 2 players or both these players or whomever, that they're going to have to, deal with that type of PR. So it probably wasn't really handled well. In terms of the Wild, no, I can't envision that would have happened. I mean, obviously the Wild have pure media relations rules, and there's certain things that you could do in other locker rooms that you can't do in Minnesota. Like, one thing you can't do in a Wild locker room is take video of a player with your cell phone or a picture of inside the locker room, where clearly you see in other organizations like Colorado, Pittsburgh, we saw with Fleury, you're allowed to do that. So everybody has its rules, but if you know what the rules are going into that locker room, you abide by their policy. So I know that if I go into Colorado's locker room, I could take pictures and video of a player while I'm interviewing them, where you know that you can't do that in the Wild. Everybody has their policies, but as long as you are respectful, like I can't ever see the Wild just revoking your credential. I don't know about you. I'd like to see Anthony's credential
I hope they don't revoke mine.
Question.
So,
Mr. Meyer?
I got the important question of the night.
Nice.
First, 2 questions.
Did you win pull tabs?
Oh, you did good.
Nice.
What's your coffee order?
Venti Americano. Number 9 today, I think.
9 Americanos?
No, I didn't have 9.
No.
I had 3 Ventis and 2 regular coffees at home.
I go with a 5-shot Americano with a little bit of room. No cream, just room.
Well, then the other question is, how'd you do in your game today?
I lost my match. I played pretty well, but I yanked
You
the
lost to
drive.
Ariana?
No, I was playing against another guy, and I yanked the drive into the hills on the 18th to lose the match. I had made a big putt on 17 to get back to even, and yeah.
What do you think of the Ryder Cup, Anthony?
It was thrilling. I loved watching it. I can't believe the rule that they have about when a guy's injured. Why don't they just have 3 guys be injured and make it almost impossible? But no, I was glued to it yesterday afternoon as I was in the press box getting ready for the Wild game, and it was. The Ryder Cup is. I love watching golf. The Ryder Cup is it for me. That is number 1. I love watching match play. I love watching the way that. I found myself pulling for Europe just because I like so many of their players, but one of them is Victor Hovland, and I don't doubt that the guy was injured, but with a lead that big, how do you not go out and at least give it a shot and see? And that rule has to change. That might be as ridiculous a rule as there is in a major sporting event.
What do you all the controversy with just the crowd and its conduct?
Well,
I remember when it was here at Hazeltine, and I remember that was kind of a thing, but I don't remember anything.
It was
like
loud,
this.
but it wasn't like this, and it's been growing that way. The last few have been getting more and more. The crowds have been getting more and more boisterous, and here it seemed like they crossed some lines, and clearly throwing drinks at players and their wives is over the line, and hopefully it takes a step back from that, because I love the fans being excited and cheering for one team or the other in a tournament like this, but there is a place where it's gone too far, and I think they went too far here.
Yeah. Question.
Hey guys, huge fan.
Thank you.
As a guy who's been around the 25 years the Wild have been around, it's hard to read about the middling of the Wild, and it's been hard for all of us to watch the last 4 years. I was at the game last night. We left after the second period. It was that bad to watch. And then the debate you guys just had, I want you to expound on it. Yurov, Juracek, Volstad, and Ohgren. If those 4 guys do not make the opening roster, is it not a failure of Minnesota Wild leadership?
Well, first of all, the one thing I wanted to bring up first is I was a little. I don't know about you, Anthony. I was surprised at the lineup last night. I mean, to have 3 forwards in the lineup, that's your third line. As you mentioned, one winger might wind up on the second line, but essentially your third line throughout camp as your only roster shoo-ins and your only defenseman being Bogosian, and then Philip, that should not be a home lineup when you're asking fans to pay NHL prices.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is that if it was me, I got to look at these guys. And if I think that when everybody's healthy, that my third defensive pair might be Bouillon and Bogosian, because Bouillon's my top power play guy, I want to see them play together. So they played together last night. They wanted to look at Lambos and Juracek again. So you want those guys to play. Your number 1 priority is to make sure your team's ready for opening night. And part of that is health. So I would really be careful with how much injury trouble this team has had. How much do you really want to see Kirill Kaprizov, Marco Rossi, Matt Boldy, Jared Spurgeon, Joel Eriksson on the ice?
Agreed.
Especially when you don't know, most times these early exhibition games, the other team's not bringing an NHL lineup. Chicago was on the second of back-to-back, so I'm sure when they plotted it out, they thought...
But I'm asking about opening night.
Yeah,
we watched Frank Nazar
opening night
smoke Carson
right.
Lambos in the second
exactly.
period last
And
night.
that's why Carson Lambos is headed for Iowa today. So but I think right now, that was a game where you had to see those guys one more time. Now you're going to see an NHL lineup. The last 2 preseason games are pretty close to your opening night lineup, but they still have some questions to answer. And I don't think that, Volsted's going to be on the opening night roster. Buyam, I believe, is going to be on the opening night roster. I don't think it means that that the organization has failed. If these guys, they're still, Michael's point is valid. Liam Ohgren's still 21 years old, and he's going to be an NHL player. He just might not be ready to be a top 6 NHL player opening night this year. And if that's the way your roster shakes out, I think Ohgren's going to be on the opening night roster. Yurov, I would say, is a little bit more of a, not long shot, but less of a certainty. But Yurov, I think, is going to be a good player.
But remember, if Yurov, let's just say he starts a little bit in Iowa. He's coming over from the KHL. He's never played a minute of NHL pro hockey. If he doesn't make the team because Hunter Haight did, based on also what he showed last year in Iowa, that actually sort of offsets what you're talking about. So, you know what? I would be shocked if with the progression that he's had in camp and the communication that the Wild have had with his agent saying how much he's progressed in camp, that if they said to him, look, you're not in St. Louis this night, but you might be back up for the East Coast trip 3 or 4 games later, that you're going to make such a long-term decision that you're just going to sign back in the KHL. If that is the threat, then you might have to make another decision if you're the organization. But I still can't believe you went to yesterday's game, though. Dylan from the Hockey News, who sits next to me during the game, at one point turned to me. He's like, "Could you imagine if you paid for this game?" And I almost had a heart attack. That's Dylan Laux on Twitter, by the way, if you want to rip him. Yep. So there you go.
Well, you'll get a better show on Tuesday night against Winnipeg. It's not Winnipeg's top lineup, but it's decent. And then I think you'll get a almost an opening night game in Chicago, the final preseason game.
Yeah, but a lot of good players coming here from Winnipeg tomorrow.
Yeah, they have good players, but they don't have a couple of their superstars.
No, Scheifele's not here, and Connor. That's it. Yep. But everybody else, and Hellebuck got hurt today. Looks like Comrie's starting tomorrow. Question.
Yeah, just a quick one about Rossi. Now that we have him re-signed, are we locked in on him, or are we still going to be shopping him like we were the summer end of last season, where we're kind of looking for that help for Eriksson that we talked about at the end of last season?
He's got no trade protection, so they could move him at any point. But the way that this roster is right now, especially with the uncertainty with Kirill and all that, I can't see that they're looking to move him right now. But man, what do you think of Mason McTavish's contract, Anthony? 6 times 7. I bet that made Marco a bit like, what?
I probably made the Wild happy, but but I don't know. It's no 2 organizations are in the same spot, so. Marco's deal was a good deal for both sides. It actually was one of Vinny's thoughts tonight was, do you think Marco, now that he's signed, will get a longer leash in a top 6 or on the top line type spot? And I think he is. I think he's going to get a really long look between Kaprizov and Boldy with Eriksson on a second line that includes
to your point,
Tarasenko.
It's not like Yurov is produced right away. The one thing I will tell you is Ryan Hartman just looks great to me in camp.
I agree.
So
But
that's
a
always,
third line that has Ryan Hartman and Marcus Foligno on it, I think has a chance to be a really good line on a good team.
Yeah. Yeah, what would be really good is if you maybe put a Hunter Haight or Yurov on that second line, and Ohgren on the third line, and a JoJo and on the fourth line.
I'll write it down.
Yeah. Question.
Yeah, for you guys, who or what has been the biggest surprise of the preseason?
For me, Hunter. He wasn't on my radar before the camp started, and I don't think he was on the Wild's. I think he was on the Wild's radar to maybe get games this season, but What do you think, Anthony? I mean, he scored a couple clutch goals, and
yeah, I'd say he's probably been the most pleasant surprise. Actually, another one is Cal Peterson. Cal Peterson's been terrific, and this is a guy that a couple of years ago the Kings were trying to give the job to be Jonathan Quick's successor, and he couldn't take the job. And
man, last year in Philly,
no, it was bad. And I'm not saying I think he's about to come up here and take Gus's job or anything, but he's been a pleasant surprise.
And I think Wallstedt's looked great.
I think Wallsted's been good too. Yeah, but
do you you were talking about with injuries before on that question. Are you surprised they haven't given Gus more action in the preseason, or that Gus is essentially he's going to get one more start, and that he played behind such an inferior lineup tomorrow, and that then you're all of a sudden going to ask him to, play probably in Chicago Friday and then not again for 6 days? Are you worried that he hasn't gotten enough game action going into the regular season?
Not really. I think, they wanted to give him 2 starts. It's kind of on the goalie too, like how much work, once you get to his point, it's how much work do you need? And the Chicago game is weird because it's the game day travel, so it's not like your normal game day routine, but you have a long stretch between the last preseason game and the first regular season game anyway. So I think it's fine, and Gus has looked good in camp, I think, and looks like he's in great shape. I thought he played just fine the other night, but that final game in Chicago, I know the way you know too, the way Gus is wired, that he needs to play and play well in Chicago. It just otherwise that kind of stuff seems to weigh on him.
Yeah, I agree with you. What do you think of Rocco Baldelli getting fired today? You're Twins guy.
Yeah, I'd say only mild surprise. I mean I like Rocco, and he'd had some successful seasons here, but this team was expected to contend this year, and I don't think it was all Rocco's fault. They did purge the roster, but that was after they had fallen from contention, and you couldn't expect him to do much with the roster after that. But it's the organization right now is they got to figure it out. They've got some rebuilding to do, and when Rocco came in, part of the reason they brought him in was because he embraced this new statistical and analytics style, and that they thought he could communicate it better to assistant coaches and to the players, and they replaced Paul Molitor, who had won the Manager of the Year 2 years ago with him. And all this stuff, managers as coaches in the NHL, they all know that eventually they're going to get fired, and somebody was probably going to have to be the guy that answered for the Twins' failures this year.
Right. And 7 years is still in pro sports term a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah. What do you think of Cheryl Reeve's meltdown the other night?
Well, it was. I wasn't watching the game, but I did watch the clip of her running on the court and then listen to her post-game press conference.
And then telling everybody to F off.
And as soon as I listened to it, I thought, if she's on the bench for Game 4, this league has zero credibility.
Yeah.
And I know she was.
Those first 2 girls that she told to F off were like wearing Lynx shirts too. Yeah, she was like wildly nuts.
Yeah. And even if the calls were as egregious as she made them sound, and I didn't watch the game, so I have no idea if they were. You can't say that when your team is still in the series.
Yeah, like you're not winning that battle. Like, sorry if you're a referee out there, but refs are vindictive, man. They have long memories.
Yeah, well, and leagues have credibility to worry about.
Yeah,
so
and,
they can't have a coach talk about officials that way and let her coach the next game.
I'll be interested. So they have a media day or their end of the season postmortem stuff tomorrow. I'll just see if she continues down that track or she kind of apologizes, because it was such a bad look of her leaving the court and telling everybody to F off. That was not good. Anyway, last question of the show. Are you here? There we go.
I figured this would be a fun little question to kind of end the show. Who, throughout your time with the Wild has been kind of your favorite player who's played a season or less in a Wild sweater?
Season or less?
Yeah, so
That's
for
a
me,
good
like a Daniel Winnick or like an Eric Fair, they're kind of fun guys to just think about or remember.
Oh my God. I'm going to think about like 25 guys like on my way home that I should say here.
Yeah,
but
so it'd be like a trade deadline acquisition kind of guy.
So on the Wild the first name that popped in my head, but he was here a lot longer, but I only covered him 1 year, was Dwayne Rollison. in 05, 06. That was my first year covering the Wild. God, that's such a great question. Chris Stewart popped in my mind, but he had a couple stints here. I loved covering Owen Nolan his 1 year here. Loved covering John Madden his 1 year here. Because
was Owen Nolan only here 1 year?
I believe so. Maybe he was here a couple. John Madden was definitely only here 1 year. That was actually their sort of the way that when Mike Modano, they were going after him, and he wound up signing in Detroit. They then later that day, I believe it was, signed John Madden. It was a Bill Zito client. I remember talking to Bill on the phone at that time, and now Bill's the Florida GM. But I was such a fan of John Madden when he was on New Jersey that I was super, super geeked out that they signed him. Anybody that pop in your head?
I can't think of, because almost all the guys they acquired wound up staying here more than a year. That, like Jason Pominville was a great one, but he obviously stayed for a while. I can't think of anybody that was only here 1 year.
Yeah. If you are you on X or Twitter as the old man? Maybe tweet me, just say I was the one that asked a question, and I'll actually kind of flip through the media guide, because I guarantee you that there's 3 or 4 people.
I'm sure
that
there's somebody we're forgetting.
Yeah, that would be the most obvious person ever. God, I'm even thinking of scouts right now that still are now in the scouting business, but that's a great question. I'll try to think of that. Well, thanks everybody for coming out to Tuttle's. October 6th is our next live show. That is at Elsie's, and then we'll be back here on October 27th. So again, October 6th at Tuttle's. That's 3 days before opening night. And October 27th, did I say that right? October 6th at Elsie's. October 27th at Tuttle's. Thanks to our incredible sponsors. We have a new sponsor, Stretch Lab. Anthony, you go to Stretch Lab all the time to get stretched after your golf outings?
No, but I could.
Yeah,
I
Stretch
could use
Lab.
it.
Aquarius Home Services, your local authorized dealer for Connecticut water treatment systems. Clamshell Beach Resort, On X Map, Twillin Down Galleria, and Royal Credit Union. Thanks everybody for coming on out.
Thank you.
Thanks.